Okay, so this meeting is going to be recorded. It's going to be an informal chat between myself and the lovely Isla Brown, financial stylist. And it's a continuation, or rather a relaunch of a series of webinars that I made with inspiring women founders to help other women founders, called the Founder to Leader series. So one of the areas that I found came up more and more often, it was across the board with women founders and professionals, is the issue of dealing with finances. A real reluctance to look at finances and a lack of awareness and maybe even confidence in addressing the financial issues that we all face, not just women, but all of us face at every different time of our life. But I'd like to introduce you to Isla, as I say, the financial stylist, and I love that title and that name for yourself there Isla. And first off, perhaps you'll give us a bit of an introduction to yourself and what brought you to being a financial stylist.
No, absolutely. And just to clarify, I'm a fully regulated financial advisor. I just prefer this title, which I'm sure we'll come on to soon enough. I'm based in London. The dulcet tones are from Glasgow. So I started off life up in Glasgow. I studied 2 degrees, just to give you a bit of background behind me. I studied economics and then I studied law. And when I was training to be a lawyer, I met a man. 6 months later, we married him. And then, he found this job in London. Dream job, off he went. Off you go, dear. The plan was for me to move down after I finished my training. And that didn't happen because there was a huge shift in the employment law world, which I won't go into. So after 2.5 years of weekend commuting between Glasgow and London, enough. We're fit, we're young and healthy, so I had a couple babies instead. I moved down south, quit the job. But I always like to work alone. I've never been one of these that could just do lunch and go to the gym, etc. I like to kind of achieve, and it's hard to that shift, and that's why I specialize in what I do. That life transition can be quite unsettling, an identity crisis, I would say, to a certain extent. So I did a bit of HR, I did a bit of retail work and a bit of Pilates to fit around my husband's job and the children, etc. But I said my first degree was economics, so numbers have always been my jam. And actually, when I looked at what I'd done, employment law, with Pilates, with retail work, it was always centered around people. And people in quite intimate, sensitive capacities. So joining up the numbers, joining up the love of people, made it very obvious that financial advice space was what I should retrain and do. I've kind of been involved in numbers, so that was quite an obvious move. And to be quite frank, I've never looked back, and I absolutely love it. So that's a super quick rundown. I am a fully regulated financial advisor. I just much prefer this title of financial stylist.
That sounds great. And I know that you focus primarily on women who are maybe experiencing some sort of transition in their life, women perhaps between 30, 50. Why do you think this kind of life stage brings up such strong financial questions?
Just generally, the typical age people take financial advice is 40s to 50s, and it's life events are happening at that time. We hit kind of the treadmill if we're doing it, uni, college, training, whatever, and the early stages of our career. But then people have babies, and it's at this age where people take a pause, and maybe there's divorce, maybe there's redundancy, maybe there's parents now in retirement, and adults that age look at their parents and go, oh, I should maybe plan for this. There's children. So it's just a stage in life where there's quite a few life events happening, whether it be to you, family or friends, and it just serves at that wee pause of, right, hang on a minute, what direction am I going in? So that's why that age is quite topical. And I specialize in women in particular because 17% of financial advisors in the UK currently are women. So I would argue this huge industry needs, but yet women are meant to be the wealthier gender. I'm 100% an equalist, as I describe myself, But further to be that equality, diversity needs to be represented and diversity needs to turn up. Money is the vehicle by which we all live our life. We have to deal with it, but not everyone fits a mold. So I'm repping what I am. I hope to a large extent. And I've got a hashtag, I don't know if I told you, Elaine, about there's no uniform to financial advice.
No, I like that one.
I don't have a uniform. Clients don't have to be a certain type. We all need money. Everyone should feel they can talk and get on top of it. Are you there, Elaine? Don't know if I'm freezing.
Yeah. Sorry, I think we're back. Yeah. Sorry for that technical hitch. I don't know what it was, but there we're back. So I was going to ask, the women that you're dealing with, they're in a very stretched stage of their life, stretched emotionally, financially as well. So how do you typically work with somebody who's in that situation?
No, there's a lot of plate spinning. That's right. That's a very, very common theme. I always have a chat as a first step, and there's no pressure, there's no obligation, it's absolutely confidential and a safe space. And quite often we just talk and I let someone speak, and quite often that can be quite a relief. So I don't need you to do a huge amount of prep before we have an initial conversation, because I take the attitude that every relationship in life should be bilateral. So we should have a chat as to whether or not we're a click before we go any further. That's fine. I like to work with people in the long term. So we've got to work out if we get on. So have that initial chat. I'm determined for there to be no barriers in someone starting. And then that's my job. I do the legwork. I let you talk, and then I kind of piece together the plan, and then I can ask and explore other areas of information. But that's my job, to just take the first step and have an initial conversation. There's no pressure. There's no obligation. I'm all about empowering informed decisions. And if you say, no, thank you, not for me at this time, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. I mentioned right at the outset that it seems to me, talking to many particular female founders, solopreneurs, that money is a difficult subject to open up about. I don't know whether you found that. Why do you think that might be, if that's been your experience also?
I don't know if it's quite a British thing. People feel quite a lot of shame. I'm not doing enough. People, as adults, some people don't understand and feel they should because they're an adult, and adults deal with money. I have to say, I've noticed a lot of women going, oh, I don't know, I feel ashamed, but they're the ones that admit to it. It doesn't mean men don't. And actually, quite often if I talk to a couple, I'll try and split them and talk to them individually at some point. And by doing that, I've actually discovered the females like, oh, I'm glad I'm asking lots of questions, because I'd be too embarrassed to ask them in front of my partner. But then having spoken to the partner, I'm being very stereotypical here, but say if it's a male partner, they quite often feel I'm the male, I should know, and therefore feel pressure as well that they should know, and therefore pretend they do. I always flippantly use the example, Elaine, that I don't really know how my car works. I can push the accelerator, but I know a mechanic that does, and so we don't need to know everything. Finance is a very, very broad subject, and it moves very quickly all the time. So when people say, oh, I'm not doing enough, blah, 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 the fact they're admitting to that, the fact they're starting the conversation is only a positive step, and they should hold their head high.
As you say, finance is a very broad and complex area. What are the kind of planks that we should all have in place, really, that relate to our financial health?
Know your numbers. Again, I think it's a British thing to feel it's crass. Literally sit down, spreadsheet if that's your jam, pen and paper if that's your thing, and write it down. You've got savings. People have my ISAs. ISAs stand for individual savings account, because I've had people go, what does I stand for an ISA? And again, people don't ask if they're not sure. But a big thing I've noticed is pensions, because with auto-enrollment, which was phased in between 2012 and 2017, people might well have pension pots they don't know about. And that adds to your wealth. And if that's invested right, you could really make that grow for your retirement. So it's really just sitting down today and working it out. A lot of people put things off that are uncomfortable till tomorrow. But you're missing out in growth in something called compounding, which Einstein apparently described as the eighth wonder of the world, earning interest and interest, like a snowball rolling down the hill. So if you deal with it today and write it down, you'll feel better. It'll feel uncomfortable, but you've got the marker in the sand, and then you move forward. And please don't be afraid to reach out to any financial advisor. Just pick someone you get on with is my advice, and start the conversation, start dealing with it. You'll be stunned, if not nearly everyone I've spoken to, and from a range of jobs, including top corporate finance folk, are like, I can do that, can't do personal finance. It's just different. Another thing, I'm wittering on here, I'm on one. Many a financial advisor have a financial advisor themselves, because money's emotional, and when you're in it, it's hard to see the wood for the trees.
Yeah. And we're speaking today at a time where there's a lot of apprehension around about upcoming budget that might hit people's pockets in a number of different ways. Do you have any sort of tips? I know we can't be budget bulletproof, but do you have any thoughts about how we can prepare from what we hear in the UK as some of the rumours that are going around about how personal finances might be hit in the budget?
Yeah, stop listening. Stop listening this side of the budget. It's not helpful. A huge part of what I do is behavioural. Because again, like I said, money's emotional, and I act as that objective teammate. So someone very much so on your side, that removing the emotion out of it. You can't act on maybes and what ifs. There's so many rumours, and there've been so many conflicting headlines in the press. We'll just deal with it when it comes. With your pension, depending on your age, you might not be able to access it for years anyway, so there's no point taking on that stress. I always like my clients to sleep better at night, and to me, that's my main aim. I want everyone to sleep better at night, having had a conversation with me. So my tip is stop listening to the news. Just wait till the 26th of November and we'll deal with what's up then. So, but a lot of people are putting off investment decisions and waiting, and in times of uncertainty, people feel the need to act, but quite often be the wrong thing. No decisions really. I don't know if you've got any examples of this in any other walks of life. Emotional decisions don't tend to be the best ones. So don't act out of panic or stress. Just wait. We'll deal with it. We'll be on for this as an industry. So yeah, just reach out once we hear, if you're worried, once we know what we're working with.
Yeah. Actually, I was talking just a little bit earlier today with a sort of short coaching session with somebody who, in an operational sense in their business, was just feeling completely overwhelmed and with different priorities, conflicting priorities. And I think that same thing happens when we think about our finances. You can feel overwhelmed, and whatever's caused that feeling of overwhelmness, what you're left with is feeling absolutely stuck. It really is the sort of rabbit in the headlights moment, isn't it? Where we don't know where to turn. I mean, for somebody to kind of take that first step of reclaiming confidence in their finances, is there, one thing that you would recommend as something that people can do that will help them to begin to build that confidence and get out of that state of feeling stuck?
If they can talk to someone they trust, because you will find someone that feels the same way, whether that's your friend or a family member. Again, we can be very, don't say what you earn, don't talk about money, don't say the life you want to live. Don't talk figures. But I think people find it quite therapeutic when I talk to clients, when they release and talk. I quite often say I'm like a GP. I've probably heard most things now, so don't be embarrassed. It's just, I call myself a financial stylist because I very much so plan to what suits you. We're all different. We all want different things out of life. So there's no one objective standard. So just talk whether it's a professional, whether it's a trusted friend, etc. It's your life. You live it your way. There's no winners or losers, etc. So it's just you talk together, you start the conversation, and I just that kind of purge sometimes of people just releasing. I've physically seen it in clients. So just talk to someone trusted. That's like I said, friend, family member, indeed a professional.
And what are the most common questions or concerns that you hear when you're talking with clients?
A lot is, have I got enough? Will I have enough? Will I run out of money? I've had some, when they look at their parents, go, I don't want that. A lot of people worry that they won't. A lot of people look at retirement and it's quite often labelled as your golden years. But when people look at it and look at parents, there's a few instances where they're like, oh, my parents have to work now. They don't have the choice. Where people want to feel they have a choice. That's what a kind of wealthy, rich life is for me. Again, it's totally subjective what that looks like. But I like to put clients in a position, if we can work long enough together, where they choose whether to completely retire. A lot of people want to phase into reducing hours worked. But it's really about the choice. That's what people are really concerned about. If they got enough for tomorrow, what should they be doing? And some people, they just don't know. Like I said, they've got a slug trail of pensions. So I worked here, there, and everywhere. I don't have a clue if I've got a pension there. It's really drawing together someone's picture and putting that framework in place to help them afford the choice when they hit later years. But a lot of people don't want the hard stop of work. It's the flex that they want. Yes, that's a big concern.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, we're living longer and healthier, and people want to keep active. Now, whether that's still doing some sort of work, whether it's full-time or part-time past retirement age, or doing that full stop and just enjoying non-working life. But it is, as you say, it's having the freedom and the choice to be able to make that kind of decision that's going to work for them and anyone else. Yeah,
exactly. And I suppose that's something, just don't compare yourself to other people, because everyone's got their own things going on. And one thing I very much don't, in my job, have learned, you can get an impression on appearances. When you lift the lid, everyone is very different. So there's just no compare. Just do you. And just going back to the budget, I always describe talking to a professional, putting a financial plan in place, a bit like a rope in a blizzard. I've heard it be described as. You've got all this storm en route to get into the life you want to live in the golden years, but just putting that kind of, what do you really want? What are your main goals in 10, 20, etc.? And that will hopefully anchor you around these unsettling times of what's Rachel Reid's going to do in a couple of weeks. If you just have a long-term plan, it doesn't have to be anything too rigid, whether that's a couple more holidays a year or, supporting children through further education, etc. But yeah, some people talk about a one-page financial plan. So even if it's just a one-pager, write down 3 main goals, and just when you're stressed, when you're worried about budget, or Trump's tariffs back in April is a good example, just look down at those long-term goals, and that will hopefully provide you some steadying the ship of the panic a little.
Well, I wonder if there's sort of 3 main tips that you could give people who are either watching us live or on catch up, that will help them regain that confidence and their style.
Yeah, and their style, because it's individual, isn't it? It's one is very much so. I've already said it. Is know your I've already said a few of these. Know your numbers. So sit down and write them down. If you've had a few roles in employment, you may well have pensions. There's over 30 billion lost pensions in the UK. It's your money. It just sits there. So have a good look. Join the dots of where you worked. Email the HR department and go, did I have what was the pension provider, and write to them. So know your numbers, work it all out, pull it all together. Number 2 is talk. Like I've already said, talk to a family member, talk to friends. You can work it out together. Kind of 2 heads are better than one kind of analogy. Or indeed talk to a professional as well. But as well as facing it all, once you know your pensions, check what they're invested in. So write it down, talk to people, and then work out what you're invested in, etc. Because even if you're not contributing into a pension, you can invest it to suit you, and it can grow really effectively for you, or to suit you in the longer term. People quite often think I've got a pension, that's it. But pensions, the kind of the magic wrapping bag, the magic gift bag, you pick the content that's in that. Quite often, if you've joined a job and you've been auto-enrolled in it, you're just stuck into what the default fund is for their average person. But take control of your assets. They're yours. Make sure they're working for you. So know your numbers, talk to people, and really really work out your pensions, because your pensions are what will afford you that choice later on in life. They can work really hard and be a wonderful asset for you for that freedom of choice.
And you mentioned, which is certainly true in my experience, but for a lot of people, you would have started a pension with one organisation and then moved on to another. Is there one place where you can go to find out where all these little bits of pensions might reside?
This is where I'm going to moan about pensions in the UK. It needs a huge revamp. It will take it's creaking. The government do have a tracing service, so you can Google it, and you go on a tracing service. If you know your employer's name, you can plug it in, and it will usually tell you. It doesn't always work, but it's a starter. It will usually tell you the provider. A lot of the big workplace pension providers, like Nest, Now Pension, Aviva, Aegon, Scottish Widows, these tend to be some of the big ones. Failing which, email HR. If you've got an email address of someone, you just say, look, I worked for you between X and Y date. Who was the pension provider at that time? And write to them. Because it'll be, if you've got a pot with them, that's your assets, that's your money. So first, government pension tracing service, to HR at whatever company it is, or someone that knows, or payroll might know if they do have an HR department, for example. So those are the first couple steps to work out, and it's some work I do for clients as well, is trying to pull everything together, bits and bobs, because it's difficult to manage if you've got 5, 8 pots, etc. So I do a bit of pension consolidation work as well, because it's easy, and then we can work out how to draw what it looks like for you. Yeah.
Okay, well that's really helpful. So we said with this series of masterclasses and webinars that we would keep them short over people's lunchtime so that they could just drop in. We will capture questions even following today that people can feed in. We can feed into you, Isla. But do you want to share how people can contact you if they want to get hold of you and find out a bit more about what you're doing?
Yeah, let me try. I haven't used this platform before. Bear with me. Hopefully, there we go. Let me know. Hopefully, I've done that. Let me know if you can eventually see it.
There we go.
You got him.
Yeah.
I do have a LinkedIn as well. It's just Isla Brown. The Instagram at islabrown.financial. If you click in the links, I use Calendly, which is a bit like booking an optician appointment with Specsavers. So you can book yourself in a Zoom with me anytime. Just click it, book it, can reschedule it. It's blocked out for an hour. If you just want a quick 10-minute chat, that's what we do. But the link to that is in my Instagram, in the bio, and in my LinkedIn contact info as well.
That's brilliant. So thanks very much, Isla. I'm sure that people watching this will feel increased confidence, and obviously we hope a willingness to do something about getting back in control of the financial situation. What I will do is make the recording available for people to view via the YouTube channel, and also both of us are on LinkedIn. We're doing a LinkedIn Live, so people can get hold of us via LinkedIn if they want to talk to each of us independently, or very happy to work with you and anybody coming through in a kind of collaborative arrangement if that fits as well. So Isla, before I close the session, any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
Please don't be afraid to reach out to a professional. pretty friendly and have a conversation. If it's not for you, that's fine. But I'm just determined I'm all about, as you know, Elaine, empowering informed decisions and removing barriers and creating a safe space. So even if you just want to book in and go, I don't really understand the difference between an ISA and a pension, reach out to me. I'm so happy to have a conversation, because I'm determined that we talk about this stuff and then put on a better footing. Yeah, so that's what I'm about. So please never be afraid to drop me an email or reach out to any professional. That's one piece of advice actually I would give, is if you do want to engage a professional advisor, go with someone you like. It should be a long-term relationship. Go with someone you're comfortable with. But always have an initial conversation. There's no harm.
Thanks very much, Isla, for your time. And thanks to those of you who are with us on the live stream. And as I say, both of us are contactable via LinkedIn and personal messaging, and we'd be happy to speak. I will be posting details of the next masterclass in the Founder to Leader series, and look out for that. I've got a few really interesting speakers lined up, and I hope to see you and join us on the next Founder to Leader program. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Isla.
Bye.